Now, get ready to talk hockey. Streaming from the Oilers Live Studio. Subscribe or follow today.
Hey, it's Michael here from Oilers Live. We're back on for Thursday Night Live. We've got a very special guest today. It's, of course, we've always got Mike Dursa. Special guest still, Mike. But extra special guest tonight, we've got Naim Cardinal, who has recently put out a website, indigenoushockeycard.com. And while I reached out to him originally, just because what a great idea, and I could tell it's a passion of his to go around for the Indigenous rookie cards and that. But also, fortunate enough, it's National Indigenous History Month. And actually, as we were talking before we went back live, Cardinal is like Smith for Cree folks, and that's actually my family too, is Cardinal. So welcome to the program, Naim.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate you having me out tonight.
Yeah, it's I've, as I said before we started, I'm pretty excited about this. This is really awesome. What you're doing here and the work that you've obviously put into this. Like, how many hours have you put into making the website first off and writing those bios and that?
I'm not too sure, to be honest, because I actually started writing the bios over a year ago because I started my Instagram page, and I originally was making the bios for my Instagram page, but I was keeping them in the Word document, and I just decided it was time to make a website, and I took a lot of the bios I wrote for Instagram over the past year or so onto my website, and then I had to write probably an additional 30 for the website over the last few weeks. So I've had some late nights putting it together, and I was kind of in a rush trying to get it done because my wife and I are having another baby next week. So
congrats!
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so I wanted to make sure I had it up and running before the baby came, because I knew I probably won't have much time for the next little while here. Just making sure all my children's are taken care of, and my wife is looked after. So I want to get it done as soon as possible.
Anybody know? Is that digging coming from you?
Yeah, that's my fault.
Okay. I thought, man, I'm
really sorry about that.
Oh no, that's all right. That's all right. I'm like, wow, I'm pretty sure I don't have that sound effect in my collection.
He's the most popular guest we've ever had on the show.
That's right. Let's go. Oh man. First, well, congrats on the baby. That's awesome news. Yeah. So about a week away, you figure?
We're like 4 days away.
Oh wow, that is fantastic. And congrats on Chad Graham on Facebook says congrats as well. Congrats on finishing the website. I've got, so how many do you now know, like, a lot of Indigenous hockey trivia? Like, would you say you're kind of the expert on that, or I mean, you've done some writing on it. What's the oldest card you have?
The oldest card I have is sorry about that.
Right answer.
The oldest card I have is a 1933-34 OPG Clarence Taffy Abel rookie card. It was actually a Canadian chewing gum. Sorry. V252 rookie card, and yeah, that was from 1933-34, and he was one of the first Indigenous players in the NHL, and the first American in the NHL actually, and he played for the United States at the Olympics back in the 20s.
Oh wow, that's awesome. Yeah. And so what's the first card that you bought that kind of sort of set you off on this?
The first card I bought was a Stan Jonathan rookie card.
Okay, and what year was he?
That is 1975, 76, I think, or 76, 77 off the top of my head. But yeah, that was the very first card I bought. It was at a card show, and it was $3. I picked it up, and I was like, this is worth more than $3, so I'm buying it. So
that's awesome.
Started me off.
Yeah, it started you off. And how long ago was that?
6 years ago. I started this collection in 2014, and I've been just working on it and adding to it ever since then. So 6 years in now.
Who, out of all of the Indigenous cards that you've come across, who surprised you as being Indigenous?
There was a few. Grant Fuhr for one.
Yeah.
His I'm sure you know, like his family he has some family from Enoch, from based on what I've read from some articles back in the 90s. And who else? Wade Redden surprised me. He's
Really?
yeah. Jeff Friesen, Darcy Tucker. Yeah, those are probably the four guys who surprised me. Dan Kluche, Sylvain Kluche, their brothers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And where are they from? Do you know?
They're from Quebec.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah, I mean, I actually didn't realize Grant Fuhr either until I saw him on your Instagram. And so if you want to, by the way, if you want to follow Name, go to Twitter and you can follow him at Cards Indigenous. And then on Instagram, what's your name on Instagram?
It's at Indigenous Rookie Cards.
At Indigenous Rookie Cards. So go ahead and follow Name on Instagram, which I think is your preferred social platform, right?
Yeah, that's probably the one I use the most, and I have the most traffic on.
Yeah, I like to be honest. When I came across I came across you on Twitter at first, and immediately I had to talk to you. I think I followed you for all of about 5 minutes before I reached out because I was pretty excited about this. What a neat collection. Have you? Well, first off, you know what? I'll go to Facebook. There's a chat on Facebook. Chad asks, "Do you have Ethan Bear's rookie card?"
Yep, I actually have a small Ethan Bear collection.
Oh yeah,
I can show you some of the cards later, but yeah, I have quite a few of his rookie cards.
Oh, right on. And so one of the things that I'm kind of curious about, right, is has this ever caught the attention of anybody in the NHL that that you've had a chance to meet and talk to about it? And I can think of a couple of Reggie Leach, right?
Yeah,
Some
actually,
guys that.
Funny story. When back in 2017, I first tweeted my collection out, and it kind of went viral. I had about 500 retweets, and it was posted on several news sites. And Reggie Leach had reached out to me and asked me to contact him. So he sent me his phone number. I gave him a phone call, and he talked to me on the phone for probably 20 minutes. He was a super nice guy.
Yeah.
And he has a traveling team that goes around to different communities. It's an NHL Indigenous alumni team. So a lot of former guys playing there, like John Chabot was on there, Alfie Michaud was on there, Cody McCormick, Aaron Asham, Jason Simon, just guys like that. And they travel around every hockey season. People invite them to the communities to come play, and they play against like a local all-star team. And he invited me to come watch a few of their games. And this was back in 2017. So at the time I was pretty busy. I was working on a master's degree and just started a family. So I didn't get the chance to get out to any of those games because they were in Saskatchewan, and I probably would have had to spend an entire weekend out in Saskatchewan going to the games. But he offered the opportunity to me to come to the game for free, and then also come into the locker room, at the dressing room at the end of the game, and just chat with the guys, get some stories. And he really thought what I was doing was pretty cool, and he congratulated me on it. And he actually got to meet him 2 years later at Hometown Hockey in Enoch last March,
All right,
in 2019. So yeah, he's a super nice guy, very supportive.
He is amazing. I've actually had a chance to meet him a few times. The first time, which Mike knows this story, I grew up loving Guy Lafleur, and I went to an autograph signing where Reggie Leach was there, although he was secondary in my mind at the time. But because Guy Lafleur was there. That was the first time. I was just a kid, I think 10 or 11 years old. But there's the last couple of years I've played in a tournament in Oakville, just outside of Toronto, that Reggie Leach is kind of the named NHL alumni. That there's a lot of alumni that go out and play. Darcy Tucker actually is one of them, who I've had a chance to talk to a couple times as well. And it's called Connected North. And they do this. What they do is they take technology into some of the northern reserves and connect some of these real far out areas to speakers and to education and to a number of different things. And it's just a great organization. It's called Taking IT Globally, and the tournament's Connected North. And so I had a chance to. I actually have a picture wearing Reggie Leach's Stanley Cup ring.
Oh, that's awesome.
Which is, pretty awesome. And you are, you're 100%. He is just one of the neatest guys. And I actually didn't know that about the traveling team, but it doesn't surprise me. He's so supportive of the community. He's just, as far as, people that do great things for Indigenous people and give back, right? Because he's had opportunities presented to him that not everybody gets, right? And he's not sat back and said, I'm just going to carry on with life. He's given back to the community, and what a wonderful guy. That's really neat and not a big surprise at all. That is really cool. So, what is the most valuable card in your collection?
The most valuable card in my collection, all of them.
Yeah, good answer. You're not going to make any enemies.
The most valuable card in my collection is probably my Carey Price rookie card. My Carey Price Young Guns. I think they sell in the $200 to $250 range raw. So that means it's ungraded. So if I was to get it graded, certified like as being like in gem mint condition from Beckett or PSA or another grading company, it could potentially be worth anywhere from $350 to $400, just depending on what the market's like at the time. But right now, the way it is, it's probably in the $200 to $250 range.
Oh yeah. And so when you're going out there and you're looking for these cards, and I assume you probably don't just collect the rookie cards. You probably have a full-on collection, do you, or is it mainly just rookie cards you're looking for?
It's mainly just rookie cards.
Okay.
I have picked up a few non-rookie cards just because I like the player. But I just felt like I wanted to keep a strong focus on rookie cards because, I mean, I could let this collection blow up, but I just wanted to just keep it very focused and, keep it very tight in what I'm doing. And but there are a few cards that I have that are non-rookie cards, but I mean, the majority, probably 95% of the Indigenous hockey players that I have in my collection they're all rookie cards or cards from their rookie year.
That is okay. That actually makes a lot of sense, right? You could end up with hundreds of different cards. Mike, and this, no offense to you, Mr. Dursa, I'm going to put Reggie Leach's rookie card over your image right now, just to share it with everybody that's watching. Hey, but if you could be anybody, being Reggie Leach is not a bad is not a bad thing. So there's Reggie Leach. That is a pretty neat looking rookie card. Of course, he went by Reg Leach on there. And what year is that from? 71, 72. So that was cool. To be fair, I don't know a ton about hockey cards, but getting something like that signed, does that devalue it?
Depends. I mean, it could potentially, but if you get it certified by one of the grading companies, then it could potentially increase the value of it. I remember back in the day that like when I first started collecting back in the 90s, that was the big thing. Like, get your cards autographed and they'll be worth more. But people like, they like to know that the autographs are authentic, and they want to have certificates of authenticity. They want them, certified by a professional eye. So it just depends on who it is and what the card is, really, I guess.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite team? There's only one right
My
answer, by
favorite
the
team?
way.
Actually, I like the Oilers.
Okay.
I was living in Edmonton for the last.
Yeah.
I was living in Edmonton for the last 18 years, so I
Yeah.
mean, you hear about the team so much, and it's such a big part of the community. You can't help but like them, and also since Ethan Bear joined the team, I've been paying a lot more attention. And the thing is, like, since I moved out to Kelowna, I mean, there was a short time when we still had hockey before the pandemic hit, but I was struggling to get Oilers games out here because we're on the Sportsnet Pacific, and I moved from Sportsnet West Zone, and yeah, they don't really show a lot of Oilers games out here. I have to stream them if I could.
And of course, you're going to have a lot less time now in the next week,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah. That's well, it's good. It's good. There's only one right answer on this show as to who your favorite team is, but
Yeah. And I apologize for not having any Oilers gear on.
No,
I
that's
should probably get an Ethan Bear jersey or something.
that's all right. I've been hogging the mic a little bit. Dursa, you got any questions?
Yeah. So doing this, do you become like a historian of each player? Do you start
I don't.
you collect a card and then you start looking into their past and everything and
Yeah, so when I made my website, I wrote bios on every player, and I've included what their Indigenous ancestry is, as well as highlighted their career, their accomplishments, and what their connections are to the Indigenous community. I mean, I don't like saying I'm an expert on anything, but I've put in a little bit of work, and just you know somebody considering me as an expert or a historian, that's a pretty big honor for me to hear. So I appreciate that. But I, I like thinking of it as hockey history because I think it's important for people to acknowledge and, recognize the careers that the Indigenous players have had in the NHL and the impact that they've had. Like you look at guys like Brian Trottier, George Armstrong, Carey Price. Those are some pretty big names. Like Brian Trottier won 6 Stanley Cups as a player, and he's like
Not too shabby.
almost
Not too
1,500
shabby.
points. Like
Yeah.
he's one of the greatest players of all time. Yeah.
And he's part Cree. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not not that it matters. It
Yeah,
does.
one of our cousins.
That's good. Yeah. I think that's cool too that you've got their background. I think where they're from, and I see some of that, and I was actually surprised. There was one as I was going through their that was Cree that surprised me, and I actually Trottier surprised me. I didn't realize that he was so he was Métis and Cree. Yeah, I've had a chance to meet him too. Very cool. Who imagine it be Reggie Leach or Brian Trottier. Which Indigenous player holds the title for most games in the NHL?
It'd be Brian Trottier.
Trottier, yeah.
Yeah.
And he obviously he actually has to have the most Stanley Cups. There's no doubt there. Yeah.
No one really close to him, I guess. Like Jordan Nolan. I guess he has 3. He didn't get his name on the cup last year because he didn't have enough games. Dwight King has 2. So
yeah.
There's a few guys with a couple, but he definitely has the most.
And your Indigenous history takes you back to northern Alberta, right?
Yep.
And so are there anybody of note that from northern Alberta that in your collection?
Actually, from my community, I grew up in Fort Vermilion. I'm a member of Tall Cree First Nation. That's the band that I come from, the reserve that I come from, and it was interesting because when I was putting this together, I had no idea there was anybody from my hometown. And I remember when I was a kid, my older brothers were telling me that there was a hockey player from Fort Vermilion, and I just shrugged it off. I didn't believe them. I couldn't believe that anybody would make it to the NHL from my community because we're so isolated and so far away from everything. And when I was putting this card collection together, I was a guest on CBC Radio in Edmonton with Mark Connolly, and
right on.
after the show, he talked to me and he said, "I don't know if you ever heard of this guy named Dan Hodgson. I'm pretty sure he's Métis." He said, "You should look him up. He played in the '80s." So I did. I went to Google as soon as I got home. I searched him up and his background, and it turns out he was born in my hometown. And later that day, I called my dad, and I had my dad on the phone, and I was like, "Dad, do you know this guy? His name's Dan Hodgson, and apparently he was born in Fort Vermilion, and he moved away to Fort McMurray, but he lived in Fort Vermilion for a while, and he made it to the NHL." And my dad just kind of casually says, "Oh yeah, I know him."
Yeah, no big deal.
He lived here till he was about 3, and then he moved away, and he's actually your cousin. So I was actually I was taken aback by that comment and how casual my dad was about it, because he knew I was working on this collection since 2014.
Yeah.
He didn't take the time to tell me about my cousin who made it to the NHL. So, but what happened was they moved away, I think it was in the 60s, and it's easy to lose touch, I guess, back in those days. I mean, no internet, it's hard to make long distance phone calls, all that kind of stuff, and just kind of lost touch with the family. And he played 4 seasons in the NHL and had a long career in the Swiss League. So he had an awesome career.
That's awesome. And what do you have his card?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. What year?
Actually, the card I have is from 1994. It's not a rookie card.
Okay.
I'm just kind of keeping it as a filler card right now because he has a ton of cards from the Swiss League. He doesn't have any NHL license card, so he does have a card from when he was in junior with Prince Albert, his last year junior, and he was actually a pretty amazing junior player. He won CHL Player of the Year. He won a Memorial Cup, and he also won a gold medal with Team Canada at the World Juniors. Had 185 points or so in his last year junior.
Not too bad.
But he has a card with Prince Albert, and then while he was in the NHL back in the 80s, it was really hard to get a hockey card unless you're a consistent player and you're well known. So he was up and down between the NHL and AHL. And at his peak, I think he played 46 games while he was in the NHL. He was with Toronto and the Vancouver Canucks, and he just never had a hockey card. So I had to find one from his days in the Swiss League. So I'm kind of keeping that as a filler card, and until I can track down that Prince Albert Raiders card, which I would consider his rookie card.
Yeah, that's awesome. The so on Periscope we've got a couple of comments, and one in which I think Mike and I and anybody watching and listening would agree with is don't sell yourself short on your level of knowledge and that, because just looking at your website, you've clearly put in the time and the effort on here. And then Mike, Bob the goalie, of course, he's from Lacrete. He says neighbors. He was just on. We just had him, one of the goalies that we have on once in a while. It'll be every Thursday from here on. And he also said that Dan Hodgson played many games against the Fort Hawks, or maybe he's talking about himself having played against the Fort Hawks, one or the other. Yeah.
But Fort Hawks are a local legend team up north. All of our best players played for the Fort Hawks back in the 80s and 90s, and I'm not sure if the team is still running or not. I haven't lived in Fort Vermilion in a while, so I know those guys are still around, and they're considered local hockey legends.
So how many, there's got to be a kind of a 2-part question. What I think the one thing I'd like to know is there a player, a rookie card that you really want that you don't have in your collection right now?
Well, I have pretty much all the players who have a card. There are 6 players who have played in the league that don't have hockey cards of any kind or any known cards. According to trading card database. But yeah, if there was cards that I'm looking for, they'd be like cards for my player collection. So I have player collections of Jonathan Chichu, Jordan Tutu, Brady Keeper, Ethan Bear, Zach Whitecloud, and Brandon Montour.
Yeah.
So it'd probably be something pretty rare from one of those guys. Probably the top card that I'd like out of those list of guys is I'd like a Young Guns high gloss. So hockey cards today, they don't make just one copy because they like making you chase after all these other cards. So for the Young Guns, they have all these different variants today. There's like 7 different versions probably you can get of the Young Guns card today. But back in 2003, when Jordan Tutu was a rookie, there was either you can get the regular Young Guns, the exclusive Young Guns, and then what's known as a high gloss. The exclusive, there was 50 copies made of that card. And then the high gloss, there's only 10 copies of that card. So I would be probably most interested in getting that high gloss just because it's so rare. There's only 10 made in the world, and it's a pretty significant card for Tutu.
Do you have any idea where they are?
No. I've only seen one pop up on eBay in the last 6 years, and I missed it, and I live with that regret every day.
Oh man, I mean, I guess if there's something that rare, right? You really want to get out there and get that, and so to the best of your knowledge, you have a full collection of available cards as far as Indigenous rookie cards.
And since I started this collection, my original list has expanded almost yearly because I have a number of people that reach out to me and tell me that players have Indigenous ancestry, and then I'll look them up on the internet, and then it gets confirmed. So, I just keep adding players to the collection, and then there's more players coming in every year. Most recent, like Zach Whitecloud, Ethan Bear, Brady Keeper, and there's going to be a few more coming up in the next few years, that's for sure.
Yeah. I'm asked to get your thoughts on Devon Buffalo.
Oh, Devon Buffalo he's an amazing goaltender, amazing human being. Had a very solid career at Dartmouth, Ivy League hockey team, NCAA Division I. He was playing East Coast Hockey League last couple of years. I'm not sure what he was doing this year, if he was playing or not. But I do talk to him once in a while, and he's an amazing guy.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And a goalie asked that question, by the way, so I'm not.
You're a great goaltender.
I'm not too surprised that he's a goalie now that you're talking about it. I'm honestly I'm at a loss for it. This is just an outstanding collection. I've had a chance to go through the website, which you just launched 2 days ago, right?
Yeah, it was 2 days ago.
Yeah, 2 days ago, and there's it's really easy to navigate for anybody that goes on there. They're done by era, 33 to 1980 and so on, and you can just go click on and you'll get a short bio on each player. It's fascinating. Have there been any Cardinals? No Cardinals, not yet. Hey?
No.
I know I looked it up a little while ago. I knew the answer to that. It's too bad. That would be great, and I just know that
our
my
claim to fame right there.
Yeah, exactly. And I know my family would have already known if there had been, because I'm sure we'd all have the team jersey with Cardinal on the back, no doubt. Yeah. This is really great. I mean, this. So you're what's the collection at now? How many?
89 players.
89 players. And so from your knowledge, then, because you said there's 6 that have played that didn't have cards, so about 95 players, Indigenous players that about that have played in the NHL.
Yeah, approximately.
Yeah. Do you think, have you heard any of the stories? I mean, obviously with everything that's going on right now, right? And and maybe just this realization that there's things going on in the world that we'd like to stay blind to, or some people would like to stay blind to. You think that have you heard any stories about what some of the guys like? Have you talked to when you talk to Reggie Leach or anybody? Have you ever talked to them about what it meant to be an Indigenous player or Indigenous in the NHL? Have you had an opportunity?
No, I didn't get into a really in-depth conversation with Reggie when he and I were on the phone. But there's other players that I've spoken to. I talk to Brad Lee quite often on Instagram, and he and his brother Greg, they both played in the NHL, and then they played professionally overseas. But he when he and I message, he always mentions how significant it is to see himself as an Indigenous player and being in my collection. So I mean, that was probably the extent of people that I've chatted with who have played in the NHL about the significance of being Indigenous, and he's been very proud of the accomplishments of himself and his brother, and coming from where they grew up, and just the time that they were able to spend as professional hockey players.
Yeah, and I mean, if anybody has been out to watch, a tournament like an Indigenous tournament anywhere, the quality of hockey is always top notch, and and in fact, it is some of the best hockey I've ever watched, and love going out to watch some of the tournaments that are out there, and I've always been amazed that not more players have made it to the NHL. And there's a lot of suspicions around that. But hockey itself, as we know, as many people have talked about, has become a two-tier kind of sport as well, right? You need, the unfortunate is, and there's a lot of organizations trying to change that, there's a lot of folks. You need a lot of money in order to move, forward. There's now these hockey prep schools that weren't around, when I was growing up. That it becomes important to go out and expand your skills. And frankly, if you're from Fort Vermilion, odds are you're not rolling over with the cash and the resources to go and do what needs to be done, right, in order to make it to that next level. So, I think it's fascinating and interesting all at the same time, and I certainly hope the likes of Carey Price, Ethan Bear, and of course I think Jordan Tutu did amazing things for hockey, and some of these guys that have been out there, and Reggie Leach continues to do that. What's the next step for you as far as this collection is concerned? What's next? I mean, you're here. You've launched it. You've got every card that's available. You're going to add probably a couple over the years. And what's next?
I'm not too sure. Just kind of running with it. I mean, I've been meaning to do this website for a long time. I mentioned back in 2017 when people first started knowing about it that I was planning on making a website, but I just didn't have the time because I was busy with school and my family, and now that we moved over here and kind of got settled in, and also I had a lot of time to think with COVID going on. I just figured it was time to get on it while I had the chance, and just kind of gonna go wherever it takes me, I guess. I mean, I think just having it up on the internet and having it available for people to see is pretty important, because I think to acknowledge all of these hockey players, I mean, I think that's pretty important. I didn't make this website for me. I made it for like everybody, like Indigenous people, and I want it to be a place of education, because I'm an educator by trade. I'm a teacher, and I also want it to be a source of inspiration for young people. It doesn't matter if you're Indigenous or not. I want people to be able to see and read about these players and kind of what they've gone through and in their life and how they overcame those things, and how how possible things are when you're dreaming for things in your life. I think sometimes you need people of inspiration to kind of help you along in your goals and what you set forward for yourself. And I'm really hoping people can take that out of my website. I mean, that's kind of what motivated me in it. And yeah, I found it really enjoyable in putting it together. And, it didn't feel like work. It felt like I was doing something good, and it made me feel good. So that's why I kept going with it. So, I mean, whatever happens after this, I mean, I'm going to continually be making upgrades to the website. All of the pictures that I took on the website, I've taken with my iPhone. So, I mean, I might get a nice scanner and
Yeah.
some of the cards in that way, or maybe get a photographer and just take professional photos of them so that they're on the website. And then I also want to clean up some of the bios that I've written, because like I said, when I first started, it was for my Instagram page. So some of them are very brief, and you can kind of see it like midway through. You can see where I really started putting effort in and, adding a lot more information to it. And yeah, just doing things like that, and just making it very accessible for people to read this and get this information.
I mean, I just as I keep going through this, and we've got Chad on Facebook. He's commenting as well. He said Travis Hamonic is a proud Indigenous player in the NHL, and actually I wasn't even aware of that. So, I'm learning something. It's wonderful. What is there as you were doing the bios, anything that surprised you? Like, were there any stories that came out from those that you without reading each one, that you're like, oh, that's really cool?
Yeah, well, I mean, just referring back to Travis Hamonic, the guy I had no idea he was Indigenous, and then he comes to Calgary and he starts his Northern project, where he's bringing in kids from isolated communities in the far north of Canada with their families to come watch hockey games. And he's doing that because he was Indigenous, because he's Métis. And I had no idea until that story came out that he was providing this opportunity for kids. And it mentioned in there that he was Métis. And I thought that was awesome that he was doing, because that guy just keeps giving back to the community. Because when he was playing in Long Island, he was working with kids who had lost one of their parents. Like when he was growing up, he lost his father when he was pretty young. And so he's finding ways to connect back to the community and back to kids, and just continually giving. He was bringing kids to games in Long Island, and he was providing them with tickets. And then he would give them his time after the game. He would talk to them about their experiences, losing their parents, and he would share some of his experiences, and just trying to be someone who is a mentor for them. And then, starting this new project in Calgary was pretty awesome too. So I'm just like, a guy like that kind of stuff needs to be known by people, because it's so important to give back to the community, and to stay connected to people in that way, and just kind of, show people that you're a human being too, and come down on their level, and, just show them how much generosity you have, and how much you're willing to give. Like I admire that guy a lot for what he's doing.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
sounds awesome.
admire you a lot, Name. What you're doing is so relevant and so needed, and you sort of remind me of a 12-year-old me with this zest for cards, but it's beyond that. Like you are taking, you're gathering so much information and sharing it with people, and I'm gonna probably be a pain in the neck on your sites after this is over.
That's okay. Thank you. I appreciate that a lot. I don't mind you being a pain in the neck.
You might.
As an educator, I'm sure you love this. This is
yeah. It's great. Like I wanted when I tell people like I have this hockey card collection and I made a website, I don't want them to be like, okay, it's just pictures of his hockey cards. Like I wanted there to be some substance to it and something that they could take away with them and just kind of learn from, and maybe like I was saying, find some inspiration from, because I really think that these hockey players, for what they've overcome in their life and to get where they are, and be the people they are, it's pretty amazing that a lot of them got to where they were. And I think people can find a lot of inspiration and courage from that.
Absolutely. So the oldest card you have is Clarence Taffy Abel. Was he the first Indigenous player, or is he just the oldest card that you have?
He's just the oldest card. The first Indigenous player was a fella named Paul Jacobs, and he played back in 1917. And I mean, he had 5 games in the NHL. Oops, sorry.
5 more than me, by the way.
Pardon me?
5 more than I ever had. Yeah.
So, I mean, there's only record of him being in 1 game, but there's a lot of people around during that time who said he played in 5. So it's really unknown. Like he was reported in the newspaper as being in the lineup. As well, Buddy Marco played back in the 1920s for the New York Rangers. He was a Mohawk guy, and and both those guys played before Clarence Taffy Abel.
Oh, right on. That is that's really neat. And have you ever done a like an inventory to see which team has had the most Indigenous players in the league?
No, actually, I haven't done that. So
I'd be curious to do a count. There's the next step in the website.
Yeah. Also, what I do plan on adding for my website is having like a statistical leaders page where you can look at and see who has had the most games, the most goals, most assists, most points, all that kind of stuff, just to see who the all-time leaders are amongst the Indigenous players. So that's something that I'd like to add as well.
Yeah, that would be actually really cool. Stats guy Bob, who's the goalie that comes on the program once in a while and is always watching on Periscope, he says 1917 was the first NHL season. So that's actually pretty neat that right from day one, and quite cool. I mean, obviously, one of the neat things, of course, being right that hockey's considered to be so Canadian. And how much more Canadian could you be than to have the Indigenous peoples play the game, which I know, having on my mother's side is full Cree and from Saddle Lake. I know hockey is a big part of the culture, whether we know it or not. If you've not been out to any reserves or any communities anywhere across Canada, it's a big part of the Indigenous culture. It's like you've opened up a whole new world to me as well. Like when you talk about hoping that, it's an inspiration, but it is really neat to see and to understand. I mean, there's the obvious players out there that are Indigenous, Ethan Bear and Tutu and that, for that matter, like Carey Price wasn't like obvious to me until, they talked about it in the media. Right. Mm-hmm. And so that's really neat. Now I'm going to be probably thrown off the air by Chad if I don't ask about Sheldon Surrey. And there's like 2 or 3 exclamation marks and a couple of so anyway, he's very interested to hear your thoughts on Sheldon Surrey.
Yeah, I think he had a great career. I got his rookie card. It was cut short by injuries. Great guy on the power play. Really good hockey player. And I wish he was able to stick around longer, and I wish Edmonton things would have worked out better for him in Edmonton, and
me too.
Had him there.
Those
He's a local
Ginla
guy.
Surrey fights were great, weren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's local guys from Elk Point.
Yeah.
So, yeah, not far away from Edmonton at all.
But yeah, no, that's right, and that's probably not going to be enough for Chad. He's probably going to be. He's pretty excited about it though. Do you collect any junior cards as well?
I do have a few.
Yeah.
A couple of them are, by necessity because the guys don't have NHL cards. Actually, Ted Nolan, he doesn't have any NHL cards. Like he's played in the NHL, but he didn't get any NHL hockey cards. So back in 1990, 91, you guys probably remember this. There was a company called Seventh Inning Sketch.
Yeah.
And they produced CHL cards. So for the WHL, OHL, QMJHL, and he had a coach's card in that set. So that's what I'm using as his rookie card in my collection because that's his first hockey card. So, that card sits in my collection as well.
That's awesome. What do you
Yeah.
think? If you and maybe you don't know the answer to this, I hope you do. Who do you think is going to be the next rookie card that you get? So that's an up and coming Indigenous player.
Roddy Ross.
Roddy Ross? Okay.
Goalie with Philadelphia.
Oh, geez, you're pandering to the listeners right now.
Oh,
There's
sorry.
a couple of goalies listening, and they're like, "Yeah, goal." Oh man, well, we probably never hear the end of this now. Hey, Mike, you got any questions, Mike? Again, I'm bad at hogging the microphone, and Mike, go ahead, hop in.
What made you go on this path to begin with? What kind of got your thirst?
Well, I started collecting when I was a kid. So, back in the 90s, I was a pretty big collector. And I stopped collecting when I was like 13, 14 years old. And then back in 2004, I got back into collecting. And I had just, from 2004 to 2014, that span of 10 years, I had gone in and out of collecting so many times because I got so uninterested in it over the years because, to be honest, like the card collecting industry has changed so much from the time I was a kid to when I got back in. And I was mentioning before, there's all these different parallels of cards, so different versions of the card. I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and I didn't want to chase down cards every single year, multiple copies, because it just wasn't interesting to me anymore. I got tired of opening packs because it was just getting expensive and I wasn't getting anything good. So, I just kind of got to a point where like, I got to make this interesting for myself. If I'm going to be a collector and this is going to be my hobby, I want it to be something that's meaningful to me. I need to start a project that I'm going to continue with and that, it's going to keep me connected and it's going to be something that, I enjoy doing. So, at that point, I was very interested in Indigenous players. Jordan Tutu is one of my all-time favorite players. And, that kind of inspired me to start the collection. So I picked up that first card to Stan Jonathan, and then I printed off a list of this website online. It's called nativehockey.com. And it has about 55 players or so listed on there. So that's how I got my start. And I printed off that list, and then I slowly started researching the players and what their rookie cards were. And I started picking up cards slowly over time. And, I probably could have just rushed it and picked everything up within a year, but I wanted it to, be a process and something that I was, that kept me motivated in collecting. And I had no idea it would turn into something like this. Like when my card collection went viral in 2017, I was posting a picture on my Twitter from my hockey card buddies. That's all it was for. And, people caught a lot of interest in it. I just really unexpected. And it kind of took off that way. And I just, like, so many people have reached out to me since then. I've met so many awesome people because of hockey card collecting, because of my collection. I just have no words for that. I've made so many friends, met a lot of really kind people who know the players personally. Um, I got to set up at the Summit Show in 2018. The Summit Show is probably one of the biggest card shows in Western Canada, and it's Sherwood Park. And I got invited to come and display my collection there. And the conversations that I had there were so deep and meaningful. People coming up to me that I never thought would ever come talk to me about hockey cards were coming up and asking me questions about the players. They were saying, "Oh yeah, I grew up in the same town as that guy. I know them. I had no idea they were Indigenous, but it kind of makes sense." Yeah, it's just been awesome. Like I have, like, I'm at a loss for words because of how amazing it's been, and how much this has given to me, and and the experiences that I've had because of it.
Well, it's fascinating to listen to you because you see a hockey card and you look at the back usually and you check the goals, the assists, penalty minutes, fighting majors like me, but with you've got backstory and you've done like an archaeological dig on these players. It's amazing to listen to you. It really is.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, it's as I go through the website too, I see you got a little section there for the articles that you've been a part of, APTN News, which is pretty darn cool. That must have been awesome, and on the Beckett Media
Yep.
website as well.
Yep.
Yeah,
That was the Beckett one was probably like that was, as a collector, as far as collecting goes, that's like you end up in the Beckett magazine. That's the top of the game right there. For a collector. Yeah, that was pretty awesome.
Have you come across anybody that was working on a similar project in your time, or you think you might be the only one right now? I'm sure
Nothing like
others
this.
have been inspired
I
to
know
now.
guys that focus on player collecting, that have massive collections of like Ethan Bear or Jordan Tutu, guys like that, or Carey Price. No one who is focused specifically on the rookie cards. I know guys who collect in-person autographs from all the players, and they have huge collections of that. But I haven't seen anything like my collection yet.
Yeah. In fact, I mean, that's why I stopped immediately. I hadn't, I didn't know you. I'm not even sure how I found you there. Probably somebody retweeted something that you had or something. But when I did, and it's a bit of a no-brainer, right? When as somebody who is interested in the Indigenous players that are there, it's like, whoa, well, why didn't I think of that, right? I mean, this is, if you're going to collect cards, what a great collection. And you've really, this has kind of taken you a number of different ways, and in the meantime, you got yourself a master's and a career and a family and all of those things. That's very impressive for a guy from Fort Vermilion, right? To end up now all over the place, and you're living in a beautiful part of Canada, no doubt. So that's this is really great. We're approaching sort of the top of the hour, and sort of running it down. I just, I think when I look at this, I guess the question always, is just, where to next? And, you talk about some of the new players that are coming, and I see the articles and the videos, and you even got a section there for your player collections. You said, sorry, Tutu was your favorite player?
Yeah, he's probably my favorite Indigenous player.
Yeah. Okay. And that's so cool. I see when I go there, you've got a lot of ones signed by him. So I assume you've met him a number of times, have you?
No, I've only actually ever met him once.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I got to go to World Juniors last year when it was in Vancouver, and he was at one of the games, and I ran into him there, and I got a picture with him. But all the cards that I have that are signed, those are from those are cards that somebody pulled from packs. But I just bought them off of eBay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I didn't pull them myself, and I didn't get them autographed or anything. So they're authenticated by the hockey card company as being signatures of Jordan Tutu and all the other players.
Oh, that's right on. The one that kind of interests me that's really quite neat, and the fellow, it doesn't look like he played for very long, like 5 games, is Ted Hodgson.
Oh yeah, yep.
I mean, that's a neat card.
Yeah, it's a 1973-74 team issued postcard from when he was playing in the WHA for the Cleveland Crusaders. So he played the same year that Bobby Orr was a rookie, 4 games in the NHL with Boston, and then he had a long professional career after that. Played some time in the WHA, and I think that's his only hockey card that he has, and it's listed as a hockey card, but it's actually an 8.5 by 11 postcard, and it's a lithograph. So it's hand drawn by somebody, and they just mass produced them, and they were issued by the team, and people just got them at hockey games. And the way I got that card is I had to buy the entire Cleveland Crusaders set to get that card, because I couldn't track that card down. Like, that card was on my list from the very beginning, and I had searched so many places. Like, I have saved searches on eBay. I had searched for that card for over 2 years before I actually found it. I asked about it at card shows, online on different hockey card sites. I was trying to Google it, couldn't find a picture of it. Beckett actually they have a catalog of every hockey card ever made, of every hockey player, and there's a Ted Hodgson listed in there, but it's not the Ted Hodgson I was looking for. So when I first started looking for that card, I was looking for the totally wrong player, total wrong era, total wrong team. So it took a while for me to actually get that card in my hand and add it to my collection. But it was like a 2.5 year chase for that one.
Oh, wow. I bet you. And what was the last one in your collection that really solidified it? That's not modern era, I'd say.
That would be the Clarence Taffy-Abel rookie card.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's pretty wild. Because they're really hard to find, and finding even in decent condition is almost impossible. Like, with that year of cards, I don't know why people. I could show you a picture of it. I could show you it.
Yeah.
But this card, this one right here, I don't know if there's glare.
Yeah. No, I see it. Yeah.
I don't know, for some reason, people back in the 30s, these are from chewing gum. So people back in the 30s were cutting these cards. So they cut off the entire bottom, because on the bottom, there's a game where you could you win something. So with the letters that's on the bottom, people cut them off and they sent them in, and then you got a prize for it. So to find one that's not cut, to find in that condition that I have, it's super hard to do. And to find a card that old, that's pretty awesome. That just kind of put the icing on the cake for my hockey card collection.
And you got the K. I wonder what that meant.
Yeah.
Do you know what they were trying to? Does it say on there what they're trying to spell?
Yeah.
It's a little unclear. It just says free for.
Yeah, it's a little unclear.
Save these letters. It's
Yeah.
So if this collection could take you anywhere, like, is there, like, if it could help you to meet somebody, a player, if it could get you on the ice to shoot and pass the puck with somebody, what's the thing that, if tomorrow somebody says they're looking at your collection and they're like, oh man, I gotta, reach out to name, what would it be?
I'd probably like to take some shots on Carey Price.
That would be pretty awesome. Yeah. Well,
because if I scored a goal on him, I mean, I could say I scored a goal on Carey Price, and not a lot of people can say that.
That's true. Yeah. Maybe you get your own rookie card. You play hockey yourself?
No, I haven't played in years. Like, I mean, like I said, when I was like, I don't know, growing up, I couldn't afford to play hockey.
Yeah.
We couldn't afford to. I couldn't afford to be on the team. I loved hockey. I played street hockey every night. I played shinny out on the outdoor rink almost like every other night when I had the chance, and just didn't have the finances when I was growing up to play hockey in the minor hockey league. And I mean, I started playing more as I got older, and like I could pay my own fees and stuff. And the last time I actually played in the league was like 12 years ago in Edmonton. And yeah, I mean, when I was recently working in Enoch, just outside of Edmonton, and once a week we would take the kids over to the rink to go skating, and that was pretty awesome. That was a pretty special time for us. And we play some shinny there and get to skate around. But I mean, I haven't played organized in like 12 years probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before we call it a night name, if there's where would you go? If you're interested in this, it being National Indigenous History Month, you're
Yeah.
interested in learning more about Indigenous culture and maybe hockey, in general. Do you have any suggestions, maybe books that were written by players or anything that might give those of us that would like to find out some idea of the culture around it and the history, or even
Well,
websites?
yeah. Well, nativehockey.com is great. I mean, it hasn't been really operational in a few years, but they have a large list of players on there of Indigenous players who have been in the NHL. Also, there's a book written by Michael Rabadou, he's a professor. It was actually I'm pretty sure it was his dissertation for his PhD that he turned into a book. So what he did is he traveled around the country to different Indigenous communities and he studied the hockey there. So he would go to tournaments, he would talk to players, he would talk about how hockey. He would talk to them about how hockey has impacted their life. If there was any influence from forces like colonialism that impacted their life and their experiences. Also, what hockey means to the community, picking up culture along the way. So he's a non-Indigenous guy, but he really takes an interest in Indigenous people, Indigenous community, Indigenous hockey. He's also a hockey player himself, and it's called Stick Handling Through the Margin, and it's by Michael Rabadou. I picked a copy offline off of the internet. Another suggestion I would say is read Jordan Tutu's book if you haven't had the chance. That book it's so easy to read. It talks so much about his experiences growing up and like how those experiences impacted his life. That led to a lot of different choices he made in his adulthood as a hockey player. Very inspirational, and he also talks a lot about some of the issues that a lot of and barriers that Indigenous people face all the time, and he faced them himself. And when I read that book, I made so many personal connections to it. Just the things that he went through and what he was feeling about it. I mean, as an Indigenous person, that just hit home for me so much. And I read that book in like, I couldn't put it down. I read it in like 14 hours because it was so good. And it was so, it was made so much connection with me as I read through it. So I think reading a book like that, it would be really impactful on somebody's life, and also a very, very, very big learning experience.
Yeah, that's good. And I looked up that stick handling through the margins. It's actually available. You can get it on in paperback off of Amazon if you like. So that's I'll actually probably order that. I've not heard of that, and order Tutu's book as well. I haven't had a chance to read that one, so that's great. Those are some really good resources out there, and I think it's a great time to learn and to absorb, the other cultures there, and one that is so amazingly Canadian as the Indigenous peoples that have been here, forever. Look, I think this is amazing. This is really good work that you've done. Name, you seem like a very well spoken, very intelligent guy that's done something good, and you're giving back to the people in your culture. Keep it up. This is awesome. I hope to have you back on. We didn't get a chance to talk about any of the actual hockey that might be played soon. How do you feel the Oilers are going to do against the Blackhawks?
Well, they're going to take them out.
All right. There's only one right answer there. that is awesome. And maybe we could get an Ethan Bear Conn Smythe, although that'd be there's a couple of pretty good players on that team. So thanks for joining us tonight and taking some time. Congratulations on the soon-to-be new edition. I wish you the best in health and happiness and everything like that. This is great. I'm gonna continue combing through your website. I've already found a few gems in there that are really neat little stories. I'm gonna pick up those books. Mike, any last words for Name?
This was a pleasure, and I'll follow up. You are very well spoken, and all the work you're doing is very relevant and very needed. And I'm really thirsty right now, so I'm gonna drink up a bunch of what you're doing there as soon as we're off the show here.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate everything. I appreciate your kind words and the offer for me to come here and talk about this with you guys. It's been awesome.
Yeah, thank you for taking the time. So it's Michael here from Oilers Live. We've had Name Cardinal tonight. Please, because you won't be disappointed, go check out his website at indigenousrookiecard.com. Take a look through it. If you're just a fan of hockey, even there's some really neat hockey stories there, and of course some real greats in there, Trottier and Leach, and then there's a lot of. It's just neat to get histories and bios of players that you didn't even, none of us would ever read about, other than the fact that they made it into the Indigenous rookie card list. Like the. Specifically like Ted Hodgson there, that's kind of a neat little story of how you got that card. One of these days you should take a moment and write down how you came across these cards, because that's an interesting story in and of itself. Understanding the history of that lithograph and everything around that's pretty cool. But I'm sure you're going to have your work cut out for you. And if you spend too much time on the website, your wife's going to have other words for you. Again, I'll say for those of you that don't know, but hi in Cree means thank you. And thanks so much for joining us tonight. Everybody else, have a great night. We'll see you Monday. We have got... Rip the Ref back and another Mega Thread Monday. Mike, you'll be happy to know I've been working on an intro for you for Mega Thread Monday, so that's exciting. Also, coming up soon, we're going to have Walter Bonds, who is the Shark Mindset. Go check that out on YouTube. It's one of the most viewed inspirational videos that you could ever see, and he's going to be a great guest. I'm not sure if it's going to be this upcoming week or the week after, but we'll have him on. Any requests to be on the show, please reach out to myself at Oilers Live. Again, you can find Name on Instagram at Indigenous Rookie Card, right? Is that right?
At Indigenous Rookie Cards.
Cards with an S. And then at Cards Indigenous on Twitter. Please give him a follow. I think I've said just about everything because I'm out of breath. Everybody have a great night. Name, stay on for 2 seconds if you don't mind.
Sure thing.
I'm just going to shut her down. Thanks, everybody. Have a great night.